Charlie Kirk's head of security comes clean. But, all right, guys, so Charlie Kirk's head of security was on the Sean Ryan show. Now, some of you know how I feel about Sean Ryan. I think he's an industry plant. A lot of the stuff that he puts on there just seems too propagandized in certain videos. But outside of that, this interview actually happened, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. And a lot of people are now starting to use this video, or rather that interview, as proof of how Charlie Kirk was murked. Now, here's the problem. There were a lot of problems in that interview that I saw. I didn't watch all of it. It was 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken. I did get to watch about 20 minutes of it. And I got to watch 20 minutes of what I thought was the more important part of the video. And one of the parts that I got to watch was what he experienced during the Charlie Kirk assassination. Now, a lot of people use this video as proof. It's not. It's still one man's account. And some of the accounts that he gave just didn't make sense. So some people like, do you see, they did try to help Charlie Kirk when he got, I'm like, one of the angles I saw, I didn't see any help being rendered. In fact, Candace Owens also brought that up, as she stated one of her inside sources said they didn't see any kind of aid being given to him. And people kept saying it's first aid. First of all, it's not first aid. Let's put that out there. When someone gets murked like that, or a wound like that, that's trauma care. That's not first aid. First aid is a band-aid over a wound. Trauma care is what that is. And there needs to be a difference and a level of understanding why they're both different. When I see someone get shot, I don't go, oh my God, get my first aid kit. No, get my trauma kit. This is serious. And yes, as a firefighter, we have responded to shootings and stabbings and things like that. So we know how to respond, and we never go, get the first aid kit. First aid kit is for your child. A trauma kit is for what that is. And I didn't see any kind of trauma aid being given to Charlie Kirk. Yet, in the interview, Brian Harpool, who's the head of the security, states that he used 2 hemostatic gauze and I think a wrap to stuff the wound. And when you have a wound like that, you're supposed to stuff it. Except for the angle I saw it in, I didn't see any kind of stuffing. I saw him reaching in his pockets, but it seemed like he couldn't get to it. So they just grabbed him and ran. And they grabbed him and ran inside of like 20 seconds maybe. And to use 2 hemostatic gauze and stuff it inside of 20 seconds is almost impossible. All right. So that was like hole number 1. But where it really got interesting was the securing the area prior to Charlie Kirk getting there, and the sort of pushback that he got, and the amount of unprofessionalism that was involved in setting up Charlie Kirk's security was insane. Now, let me start out by saying, this guy was a cop. Just because you're a police officer does not mean you get to guard people. Those are 2 totally different fields of work. Totally different field. That would be like me as a firefighter wanting to be a wildland firefighter. I'm like, I'm going to go be a wildland firefighter because I fought fires in buildings. 2 totally different animals. One has nothing to do with the other. The way we fight fires in apartment buildings has nothing to do with fighting fires in the wilderness. If you put me in the middle of a wilderness fire right now, I'd be like, God damn, it's hot in here. You know, like I wouldn't know where to go. So you receive that training, so then I can help be a wildland firefighter. A cop, unless he has executive protection training, which is a specific training you get to protect people. Now, when I took that training, I took level 1 and 2. When I took that training, the one thing I knew was that, or rather was explained to us, is that 99% of executive protection is babysitting. Some high-end, high-class, rich, idiot, moron, or child. 1% of the times when it does kick into action, it gets busy. And you go from 0 to 100. And you have to be Johnny on the spot. Now, when Charlie Kirk went down, he goes down, and there was no real security defense activated, if you will. Like I said, you watch the video, none of these guys pulled their weapons. So somebody said 1 or 2 did. I didn't see anyone. I saw multiple angles, and at one time did I see a weapon come out. And when they carried them, even when you're carrying the body, you still have a weapon drawn. I didn't see anybody's weapon in hand. Their surveillancing of the area takes a second. Only one guy surveillance the area to see if there was any other threats. And the thing is, guys, once your target gets hit, you have to scan the area for everyone else and anyone else trying to make a move, which he did not do. They didn't do. So when he goes on to explain about securing the area, I found red flags in that. So supposedly the chief of college, I don't know who that is, they wanted access to the roof, and they were told no. There was another access point of college kids. There was another balcony or something that these college kids had access to, and they wanted access to that. And they were, not that they were denied. The chief of police or the police officer or guy in charge of that area, I guess it was the chief, told them, oh, we got you. Meanwhile, they never had anybody in that area. Then the rooftop thing, they weren't denied. They just never got back any answers as to whether they can have access to the roof. Now, here's the one thing about, again, executive protection. You are protecting your client or the principal at all costs. So if someone tells you no roof access, you adapt to that situation. And again, taking this training, years ago, I might add, but taking this training, the one thing I know is that if they would have told me no access to that roof, at the very least, you have somebody dedicated to eyes on that roof. Meaning they stand there with binoculars and you look, and the kid stuck out like a sore thumb without binoculars. So that was a red flag right there. Secondly, no access to the roof, send up the drones. Everyone has drones now, and I'm pretty sure there are a bunch of security details with drones. I know that overseas, they use drones to scout the area. So if they're going down a bend and they can't see past these ridges or sand dunes, whatever it is, they send drones out to see if there's any threats beyond that. You could do the same thing there. You send the drone up, you get it high enough so that it gets all the rooftops in one shot, and you have someone monitor that. And then right then you would have saw, oh shit, someone's moving on the roof. He's on the roof in front of you. And then you get somebody to go handle that situation. Or you get Charlie Kirk out of the area. His explanation of what went down and how it went down was just too much. And here's the other kick in the teeth. Supposedly there's a gag order on this whole thing. He throws the chief of the school under the bus. He throws, I guess, the chief of police of that department under the bus. And then he sort of throws the medical examiner under the bus as to why the medical examiner didn't release the fact that the bullet, which wasn't a 30-06 at all, hit his spine and then went down and hit his C6. So it hit the C1 all the way down to the C6, which is probably right around here, I guess, right? So again, he throws all of those people on the bus and he goes, you know, my guys are taking a hit. They're losing their careers. Rightfully so. You didn't guard the principal the right way. I don't know any security detail when they fail and someone's life is lost, you get hired. Even if they did everything right, that leaves people to look at that security detail and go, yeah, never again, dude. You just got somebody killed. And you had different avenues to solve the problem before you got him there, and you didn't. And so when this guy does his interview, yes, there is one scene where he starts crying because he said, I saw Charlie Kirk, I saw the doll eyes, I knew he was dead. Doll eyes is when your pupils are dilated. And when they're dilated like that, you're gone. There's no coming back to it. Yeah, so some people have. But normally when it's a shot like that and you posture, you're done. And your eyes dilate, you're not coming back. So he already knew that. So in that part of the interview, he started crying and like, you know, like getting uncomfortable. And don't get me wrong. You know, them people saying he was part of Mossad, I don't know. But that wasn't acting. He really felt responsible for Charlie Kirk's death. And he has to carry that weight. Whether he's a Mossad agent or not, he has to carry that weight for the rest of his life. Because his detail failed. There are multiple avenues that, as a security guy, I would have figured out before we got there. That is what you do as your principal or your client. You're trying to protect them and keep them alive. You figure out every avenue that can happen. As a firefighter, we figure out every possible avenue of us getting trapped or in a bad position and how to get out of that position. You get into a room and it lights up on you and you're in the middle of searching that room and the fire drops down. You know that you got to turn around and go back out that window, right? We do this all the time. Or we make our way to the doorway and make sure we can get out of that doorway before we roast alive. If there's a collapse, how are we going to get out of it? We go through multiple trainings to get out of certain situations. And in fact, some of that has come in handy in my career. This guy should have known better. This guy should have known, all right, we're being denied this, that, and the third. Let's come up with A, B, C. You go through all of the alphabets and then into the Greek alphabets if you have to figure out how to protect your client. This guy didn't do that. And though I do, after watching that one scene, feel bad for him, he lost a client. He should rightfully step down and never run another security business again. Now, what I do find interesting is that there's a gag order. How come he's allowed to talk about this? Now, Candace Owens said that she's not talking about it because she's being defiant. Fine. But this guy is a part of that whole clan. There's a gag order, yet he's still talking about it, and he's talking about intimate details about it. This is why this whole interview felt like a setup. Again, Sean Ryan, being the industry plant that he is, obviously should have asked that question. Well, how come you're talking against the gag order? I didn't see that question. If it was asked, I didn't see it raised. But the gag order was given 3 weeks ago. And here he is in front of a camera talking about, again, intimate details that should have been held until after the court hearing. Again, guys, there's a lot of things going on. And especially now people are saying there's an abundance of evidence against Tyler Robbins in the Charlie Kirk shooting, which, again, I'm not going to believe because the evidence and the narrative so far sounds like bullshit. Other than that, guys, this is The Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching.